On a quiet suburban morning in Maryland, a young woman named Leslie Prior was found brutally murdered inside her own home. But this wasn't a random act of violence. The deeper investigators looked, the more the case unraveled into secrets, betrayal, and an unsettling truth that no one saw coming. Who could have wanted Leslie dead? And why did every new lead seem to point in a different direction? This is the haunting murder of Leslie Prior. Don't miss out on the next chilling mystery. Hit subscribe and tap the bell icon so you're the first to know when new stories drop. Leslie Prior was a bright, 25-year-old woman with a warm smile and a future many envied. Living in a quiet Maryland suburb, she balanced her work, friendships, and dreams with a determination that made her stand out. To neighbors, she was the kind of person who lit up every room she entered, someone who had no known enemies. But in true crime, appearances rarely tell the full story. Behind Leslie's seemingly perfect life lingered cracks, a complicated relationship, whispers of jealousy, and an uneasy sense that someone close to her may not have wanted her happiness to last. On the surface, her days followed a comforting routine, leaving for work each morning, chatting with friends in the evening, and returning to a home she believed was safe. Yet, unknown to her, those walls were holding secrets. People in her orbit carried motives no one could have imagined, and in time, they would come to light in the most tragic way possible. This is where the story begins, with a young woman admired by many, but unknowingly surrounded by shadows. When detectives first stepped inside Leslie Prior's home, nothing appeared out of place. The front door was locked. No windows were broken. It was as if Leslie had simply welcomed someone she knew inside. That detail alone sent shivers through investigators, because it suggested her killer wasn't a stranger. As police began piecing together the timeline, they discovered Leslie's last known hours were perfectly ordinary. She had spoken with a friend the evening before, sounding cheerful and calm, no signs of distress, yet by morning she was gone. The autopsy raised even more questions. Leslie had no defensive wounds, which implied she either trusted the person or had been taken completely by surprise. Investigators began compiling a list of everyone close to her: friends, co-workers, neighbors, and most importantly, the man she was romantically involved with. Soon, strange details began to surface. A neighbor claimed to have heard muffled arguing the night before, though they couldn't identify who was speaking. Another reported seeing an unfamiliar car idling near Leslie's home just after midnight. These conflicting accounts blurred the line between truth and speculation, forcing detectives to chase every lead. But perhaps the most chilling discovery came when they searched Leslie's phone. Hidden among cheerful texts and everyday conversations were messages hinting at tension with someone in her life. The tone was sharp, cold, so different from Leslie's usual warmth. Who was she communicating with? And why did it seem like she was hiding part of her life? Every clue pointed in a new direction, and every answer only raised more questions. The case was beginning to spiral into something far more complex than anyone expected. For weeks, detectives chased every lead: neighbors, coworkers, even strangers passing through town. But the truth was far closer than anyone imagined. When investigators finally dug deeper into Leslie's relationship, they uncovered a chilling betrayal. Her boyfriend, the man who had stood by her side in public, was hiding a darker reality. Bank records revealed financial stress he had kept secret. Witnesses recalled tension between them, arguments just beneath the surface of their otherwise normal life. And then came the most damning piece of evidence: a fingerprint inside Leslie's home, placed at a time when he claimed he wasn't there. Confronted with this discovery, the facade collapsed. The man who was supposed to love her most became the prime suspect. What began as whispers of jealousy and unease now pointed to something unthinkable: a murder born not from chance, but from betrayal within her most intimate circle. It was a twist no one in her quiet neighborhood could have predicted, and it shattered the illusion of safety forever. Years have passed since Leslie Prier's murder, but its echoes remain. Her boyfriend was convicted and now serves his sentence behind prison walls. A man once seen as part of her future, now reduced to a cautionary tale of betrayal and violence. For Leslie's family, the verdict brought justice, but not closure. Her absence lingers like a shadow at every gathering, a reminder of the life stolen too soon. Friends still speak of her in the present tense, as if keeping her memory alive is the only way to fight the silence that followed her death. The house where Leslie once lived now stands empty, its windows dark, a haunting monument to what happened inside. Neighbors pass it quietly, some avoiding even a glance, as if the tragedy still hangs in the air. And yet, unanswered questions remain. Could her death have been prevented if the signs of strain in her relationship had been taken more seriously? Were there moments missed by those closest to her that hinted at the danger building beneath the surface? The case is closed in the eyes of the law, but for those who knew Leslie, the mystery lingers, not in who committed the crime, but in how a life so full of promise could end in such a way. The murder of Leslie Prier is more than a crime solved on paper. It is a reminder of how fragile trust can be, and how danger often hides in the places we feel safest. Her story lingers not just because of the shocking betrayal that ended her life, but because of the silence that allowed it to grow unchecked. For her family, each year without her is a wound that doesn't close. For her friends, the memory of her laughter collides with the reality of her loss. And for those who followed the case, Leslie's tragedy forces an uncomfortable question. How well do we truly know the people closest to us? The house where she once lived may be empty, the courtroom long closed, and the killer locked away. But the haunting weight of Leslie's story refuses to fade. It sits like a shadow on quiet. Her life was full of promise, her death full of lessons too often learned too late. And so her case endures, not as a mystery of who, but as a chilling reflection of why. Because if betrayal could claim someone like Leslie, what does it say about the hidden dangers waiting in the lives we believe are ordinary? With that said, thanks for watching, and until next time.